to jump without looking. Didn't care if I fell too hard. Now I keep my hands in my pocket. Overthink every scar.
Welcome to a very special video where we are going to be working on a new book that we've never touched before on this channel. Brainstorming, doing a little bit of plotting even. The book that we are talking about is Project Planes. My main project, Unraveling, is currently off with beta readers being assessed by my friends. And while it is off in the void and I'm getting a bit of a break from that project, I wanted to do things that just kind of like creatively refreshed me. A lot of this time is going to be spent taking a real break from writing, you know, reading some craft books, living my life, doing other stuff. But I also thought it would be fun while the book is with betas to let myself just kind of explore some of the back burner projects that I have been sitting on in the back of my head. And the project that we're going to be taking a look at in today's video, I've been nicknaming Project Planes. This is a contemporary book. It is definitely a change of pace. To give you a little bit of intel on it, based on what I know for now, the concept is surrounding a girl in her 20s who has basically raised her younger brother for several years and who has rebuilt their life. They're from like this small town in New Jersey. Their parents were big partiers, formerly in the entertainment industry, at least this is what I'm thinking, and just like not responsible parents. And so when she was able to, our FMC adopted her brother. I am, not to worry, thinking through all the logistics of that. But basically, she adopted her brother, restarted their life over in Philly, and the sort of inciting incident of this book is that she gets a call that her mother passed, and so they're pulled back into their hometown, and she's kind of forced to confront her past, and also the sort of lies that she's built her new life with her brother on, because she has been lying to her brother about their parents since he doesn't remember them himself. She's basically spun this story that their father is this renowned pilot who travels the world and does really cool things, basically to give him someone to look up to. She's going to kind of have to reckon with that secret/lie as they're back in their hometown. That's like sort of the base premise. If you don't know, if you haven't heard me talk about Project Planes before, it originated from a short film that I wrote back in college. So a lot of the initial process of kind of like working with this story concept has been taking a look at what I had in the material of the short film and thinking through what I had brainstormed and figuring out what I want to keep and take from that. But also a novel is such a wider scope. So of course I've had to flesh things out. I've had to kind of kill some initial ideas and visions I had. And of course, like change things. Like I've changed quite a bit of what was even there from the original concept. So that's kind of where it's at the moment. I'm sure some of the things that I even mentioned in this intro are going to change about the project. But what I thought would be fun for today's video is just to spend some time with this concept. I have quite a bit of brainstorming material for it at this point, and I almost feel like I'm ready to do a bit of plotting as well. So we're also going to maybe do some outlining. And the sort of platform that I'm going to be doing all of this in is Campfire, which is a very cool software that allows you to brainstorm, outline, and even write your projects. I've always wanted to work with Campfire, so I was really excited when they reached out about collaborating on this video. So thank you to Campfire for sponsoring this video. That is the software that we're going to be playing around in today. I'm going to be creating a whole board for this project, making things a little bit more official. I want to see if I can find like character images, mood board images. And then I'm also really intrigued to try out Campfire's more like outlining type tools to see if we can start to build out a timeline for this book, because another cool element of Project Planes is that I want to do a dual timeline. So we're getting the present day timeline that's kicked off with the phone call of her mother passing, but then we're also getting the past timeline that more so follows like a little bit of them growing up. We get to like kind of meet the parents, see the dysfunction, and then also see the beginnings of our characters' lives together. I did talk about this concept a little bit more a few vlogs back, so I'll link that vlog if you want to hear a little bit more about what Project Planes is. Okay, so we have our laptop. We're gonna lock in. I don't even know where to start. I haven't brainstormed or plotted a project in so long, like from scratch. It's been a minute. So I'm gonna sit here and start on building out this project in Campfire. I'm gonna give you guys a fun little time lapse of me working on this, and then I'll show you what I'm building and talk a little bit about how it went. But I'm really excited. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? Godspeed. Okay, I'll talk to you in a bit.
Perfect bodies in the shallow blue, drifting faster than they should. Golden hour paints a dream like you. Even dreams start fading too. I am leaving, tell me what to do. I can feel us slipping away. Treading water, yeah, what's the use? I just say play it.
Okay, it is now dark. The sun is setting. We're making progress with the campfire board, but I want to be able to show you properly with daylight. So I'm thinking I'll give you the tour tomorrow. But so far, I'm living, laughing, and loving. It has been really fun. I'm really liking doing the kind of outlining process with these cards. So this is what the beginning of our outlining is looking like. You can see each scene has like a little card. I'm going to keep working on this tonight. And I'm getting a phone call, so I gotta go. I'll talk to you in the morning. Hello, hello. I'm trying to get comfortable right now because we are going to be taking a look at all the work that I've done so far on my little campfire dashboard for Project Plains. I'm definitely still getting to know all of the features of Campfire. I know for a fact that I've only scratched the very surface of this software and what it's capable of, and I'm excited to keep getting to know it. But so far, I'm really loving it. So first of all, let's chat about the dashboard and specifically the most exciting thing on this dashboard, my kind of mood board. I did some hunting on Pinterest and built out this mood board, and I love how in Campfire you can see all of your like mood board pics in this really nice grid. It's very satisfying to me. So let's take a little scroll and talk about some of what's on here, shall we? This shot of the sink, very random. Maybe there will be a blue sink at some point in this book. I don't know. We have some cartons of ice cream. I'm so excited to be able to put like some modern things on this mood board. That's kind of a joy of a contemporary project. So I was excited by this visual of just like the demolished cartons of ice cream. I have a scene planned around that. We have a little orange cat. I want to give my main characters a little orange cat named Frankenstein. I think that'll be really cute. Then we have some balloons. There's going to be a very prominent birthday scene right around the climax of this book. We have a little bit of a cityscape. Portions of this book take place in Philly. There's also a couple scenes in New York. So it's a fun mix of like big city, small town, because the main location that we're going to spend the now timeline in is this smaller town in New Jersey, very much actually inspired by my experience growing up in New Jersey. Not because this town is like my town, but the way that I'm going to situate this town is that it's like close to both Philly and New York. And a lot of people who live in this area are working in New York. Our characters end up moving to Philly. And this is very true to my experience growing up. So anyway, it's kind of fun to be playing with. Like, I think the fact that this book is, in my mind, taking place in New Jersey, at least at the moment, is really fun for me. There's a couple personal connections that I have planned that I'm excited about. Random card building. Maybe Ricky will make a card castle at some point. I don't know. We have some charcoal art. Our love interest, Ronnie, is going to be a fine artist. And I'm specifically thinking he's going to like work with charcoal. One of the main arcs that we're going to be exploring with our characters is that Mia, our MC, when she realized that she wanted to adopt her brother, she kind of put aside any of her art related dreams to pursue something more practical so that she could take care of her brother. And part of the plot of this book is going to be through Ronnie, who's actively pursuing his art while still being responsible. She's going to kind of learn that it is actually possible for her to prioritize that side of her and to like go after her dreams while also taking care of her brother. Ronnie really is going to be such a vehicle that's teaching her so many things about like refinding her art, but also like the more main plot about like letting people in, accepting help, leaning on community, he's going to really exemplify that because he's going to be someone who has a really good sense of community through his friends and his family. So anyway, that's why we have some charcoal art represented on here. I'm really excited about Ronnie. I think he's going to be such a great love interest and exactly what Mia needs, honestly. We have a fun little ice cream cake with blown out candles. That's just like a visual that I think was in the short film that this is based on that I wanted to keep. And like I said, there is going to be Ricky's birthday towards the end of this book. We have a Sony Walkman. There's a whole thing in this book about like cassette tapes, the way that Ricky communicates with his dad or who he thinks is his dad. This is like part of Mia's lies, is that he records these cassette tapes for him with like messages, and the father will respond back through letters. So anyway, the cassettes is like a prominent element, and Mia re-listens to these cassettes that Ricky has made as kind of like a comfort to her. We have more like love interest as an artist vibes. Some sugary cereal, some bubbles. These are really just like things that I saw on Pinterest that I was like, that could be a fun little element. That could be a fun little element. If you guys saw my like how I brainstorm video a couple weeks ago, I talked about how for me, one of the things that I kind of latch onto in the early stages of brainstorming is like specific visuals. Sometimes they make it in, sometimes they don't, but they're fun to have for now. Then again, we have some Frankenstein representation. We have a redheaded girl, aka Mia. She's redheaded girly, interacting with a cat. I just thought this was so cute and a great embodiment of what I want her vibes to be. Then we have some more like town type pictures just to kind of represent that like moody small town, but like pretty sunsets kind of vibe. I don't know. Maybe we'll do something with like an ice cream parlor. There's definitely going to be a scene at like a gas station convenience store. So that's there. We have fries. We have like, in theory, a picture of Ricky and one of his younger birthdays. Since we're doing a then and now timeline, like we're going to see different sort of vignettes of Ricky at different ages. So I thought that'd be fun to kind of represent. Pizza and Coke. We've got a diner. Again, with the cassettes situation, ice cream sandwich. As you can see, there's a lot of things here that are just like small little elements that I could potentially play with, or even if I don't, they're helping me to curate the vibes, right? The ambiance. We have a shoebox of letters. Obviously, like we said, Ricky is getting these letters from his dad. One of the sources of conflict later on in the book is that Mia is keeping both the letters and the cassettes, and Ricky's going to find the cassettes in a shoebox and be a little bit confused because he's like, why do we still have these? Is he sending them back for some reason? You know, we have more convenience store vibes. Little stovetop popcorn moment. So really just kind of starting to curate some of what these vibes could be. I'm really a fan of where we're going with this so far. So that's that. And then the other things that were automatically loaded onto the dashboard was like a pinned panel. So if you wanted to pin specific elements, you can do that here. Stats in terms of like how much time you spent working on your project so far, which is kind of cool. A recent panel, and then a notes panel, which I'm putting to good use. Okay, if there's one thing about me is that I love a brain dump notes document, especially in the early stages of brainstorming. So I've been putting a ton of ideas into this notes tab. I also want to play with maybe creating more tabs like this notes tab that are like different lists, like my list of visual elements, my primary themes. I don't know. I definitely want to play around with adding more things to this dashboard, but this is just our starting point. Where I've really been putting in the most of my time is in the actual timeline element. This has been really fun to play with. I've essentially started trying to basically plot the book in this timeline panel. It has been quite a challenge to try and like plot a book again. I know that I'm in really early stages on this project, and I actually had a little bit of a phone call with Alyssa this morning where I was like stressing out a little bit about the specifics of the plot, and she was kind of like, Brielle, let's like not forget that this is just very early stage brainstorming. Like I'm doing this brainstorming for a few days now, kind of for fun while my book is with betas, and then I'm gonna let it sit and marinate more, you know? So I don't need to solidify anything right now, and that was a good reminder, but I did have some fun starting to try to flesh out some plot events. So the way that I've been organizing this is I'm putting the timeline and the save the cat beat and then the location in the title of the card. So for example, this event is the now, it's the setup / inciting incident, and it's taking place in their Philly apartment. Cool. What I really love about this is you can actually set an image for your card. So in this case, I chose this image of Mia and Frank. And I really like this because it allows me another way to kind of conceptualize the plot events based on an image that immediately reminds me of what that scene is. So for example, this scene is taking place at an arcade. We have an image of Dance Dance Revolution here. And then you can also change the border color. So since I have dual timeline in this book, I decided to go with this purple border for the now timeline. What's also cool is that there's different ways that you can organize some of these events. So for example, I'm going to add a row, and this row could be Act 1. So then we're going to drag and drop all of our Act 1 events in here. So we have the opening image, we have this arcade scene, and then we have the setup inciting incident. Going to go ahead and space these cards out. Gorgeous. You can also set the row colors. We're going to go with something pastel, maybe like this nice light orange for this. So that's really cool. It like makes it easier to organize and conceptualize. And let's go ahead and add in a scene from the then timeline because I haven't done that yet. So I can just add an event. So let's try to add this event to the Act 1 section. So this would be then inciting incident. So I'm thinking the inciting incident of the past timeline would be something around like literally finding out that Ricky's going to be born. So I'm thinking either like a pregnancy announcement. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. And specifically, I'm thinking a pregnancy announcement at a dinner party because one of the kind of themes of Mia's childhood is that her parents were big socialites. They're going to be former artists themselves. So I'm thinking her dad was like a playwright. Her mom was a actor. By the time we get to the now timeline, they're very much like washed up artists. And to Mia, they're going to be kind of a cautionary tale about the risks of being like the tortured artist type. But anyway, one of the themes throughout her childhood is going to be like they would have a lot of parties and they were big on socializing and like their image, and the partying definitely devolved and turned into something much more dangerous. But I think it would be really interesting if the way that she found out that she was going to have a younger brother would be at a social event her parents are hosting rather than them actually telling her specifically. So anyway, let's say our inciting incident is happening at her home and it's actually instead of childhood home, maybe we say like pregnancy announcement just to be more obvious. And then I don't really think I have an image that's like perfect for this saved yet. Let me just see if I can find something real quick that's like dinner party vibes. Cool. So we'll select the image, confirm. Slay. I'm obsessed with the little images feature. It really just like makes this so much more satisfying and easier to conceptualize as well. The longer I look at it, the more I'm not convinced that this orange is the right color for this row. Not that it literally matters at all. We're gonna go with this purple for now. And I'm thinking the present timeline, we're going to set as orange for the border color. I pinned you on my sweatshirt to make this a little bit easier. Okay, so the pregnancy announcement, dinner party at Mia's parents' house. Mia learns about Ricky, or Mia learns her parents are expecting kid number 2 at this social event and is mortified. I haven't decided yet with the then timeline where I'm going to start it. Like, do we just start it with the inciting incident of her learning about this pregnancy? Because there could be something kind of interesting in she's mortified by this, but we don't quite grasp why yet. Might be something there, but then again, if there's one thing that I learned through my current project, it's that we need context to care, so I don't know. For now, I guess I don't really need to decide where it falls, but I like this as an event. And then I'm gonna create another row for Act 2, Part 1. This is so nice. I love how this is organized. Okay, Act 2, Part 1, we already have a couple plot events. We have the car and convenience store. Then we have this event at the family house. Now, Act 2, Part 1. It's like I'm thinking it's gonna be like everyone that's come into town because of her mother's passing are gathered. Mia expects this to just be her meeting with her father, but isn't surprised because again, it's like that thing of like her parents, everything is a performance, everything is public. She thinks her father has just reached out to her, but little does she know everyone and their brother is going to be at this house. And it's also going to be confrontation. Family and friends call her out for not bringing Ricky and abandoning her parents. Really fun, really fun. And then we have the now Act 2 Part 1 at the art studio in Ronnie's house. I'm actually thinking that will come before this whole family conflict situation. Can we move this down? Oh, look at that. Look at that. Okay. We have this sleigh, family house. Change this color, border color to match the purple situation. Sleigh. Okay, love. Love. Let's add one scene for the then timeline. Act 2 Part 1. I want a scene after one of her mom's theater performances where we are really starting to get to know the drinking problem that's ultimately going to be her mom's demise. So I'm thinking she'll be on an NYC stoop outside of a theater. So her mom has just had opening night at a theater performance. Thinking this play will have been written by her dad. I'm picturing like Mia has brought her flowers and she kind of has a bit of a breakdown. She's gotten a little too drunk after the show. I also kind of want to do this through line where something that they consistently say to Mia is like, oh, you're so good with him about Ricky. Like at this point, I'm thinking Ricky would be like very young, like a baby basically. And Mia's gonna kind of be like, yeah, they say I'm so good with him, but what they really mean is that they're glad they don't have to raise him themselves, you know? I'm very much going for the angle that these parents do not want kids, but they kind of felt like they needed to or just kind of fell into it. So that'll be fun to explore. And let's set the border color to orange. Okay, sleigh. So this is kind of where we're at. We also do have some stuff from later in the book, but I won't linger on those too much because, you know, I'm not overly concerned with spoilers, but I also don't want to like show you guys everything, you know? But I'm really enjoying getting to plot with this cards format. The images, the categorization, it's really scratching my brain and I'm loving it. Within these events, you also can add specifics, which I think is really fun. Like, for example, you can add panels in the events. So I added, like, for the opening image scene, some pictures of the cafe that she works at. And then you can, like, add notes and stuff in text panels. You can add all sorts of different types of panels, tables, images, links, lists. It's pretty cool. So there is that room to go more in depth. Or what I've been doing so far is just putting, like, a couple sentence synopsis of the scene. And then if I have additional notes, I'll just put it down below of like things maybe they're going to talk about or details, dialogue, ideas. I'm going to unclip you guys now and we'll talk a little bit about kind of like my thoughts on this whole brainstorming experience. It's definitely been kind of weird to be back in an early stage with a project in both good and bad ways. Like it's fun, but I also feel like because I'm trying to keep in mind all of the pitfalls and challenges that I had with the duology in the planning stages or lack of planning stages, it feels like there's just so much more that I want to and have to keep in mind when it goes into planning a next project. And it's tough because on the one hand, I want to give myself free rein to explore and to not need all the answers yet. But I also know that like I want to take some of the things that I really learned with my first book, things like every scene should be purposeful, every scene should be moving us towards main plots. I want to keep that really in mind as I'm starting to work on this book. You know what I mean? So I'm really glad that I do feel like I have a solid sense of the primary arcs that I want to explore, the themes that I want to explore, and I want to make sure that that continues to be something I'm keeping in mind so that I don't end up with just some vibey, disparate scenes, because that can be kind of a risk when you are starting with things like a Pinterest board and you're like, what if there was a scene where they ate an ice cream sandwich? It's like, we can't put an entire plot event on the outline that's just they eat an ice cream sandwich. You know what I mean? So it's like holding both things in both hands of doing the fun brainstorming, but also like continually pulling myself back to what is the main plots and themes and how can we explore those in every single scene? You know what I mean? At the moment, I feel like the plot is still underdeveloped. Like I'm lacking a sense of sort of the main stuff of the book, which I think might also have to do with like getting more solid goals for Mia figured out. Like I know Mia's themes, like how she needs to grow. And I know that like in life, her main goals are giving Ricky the best life she possibly can with what she has and making the responsible choices. But in terms of like, what are her actual goals within this plot? Like after she gets the phone call of her mom's passing, what is her plan? Like, what is she thinking she's going to do? I feel like that is a key thing that I haven't quite figured out, because in the short film, what happened was she basically went back to her hometown after hearing her mom had passed and she just kind of vibed. She ignored all of her father's calls. She never really met up with him. And then he showed up for the finale and she had to deal with that. Obviously, in a novel, we can't do that. She can't just be rejecting his calls until the finale. Like, that's not enough substance. It makes sense for a short film where we only have a couple scenes, but not for this. I think also just like fleshing out the parents and making sure that they're characters and not just little cardboard cutouts of dysfunctional parents is going to help a lot. And figuring out, what does her father want from her? What does she want from her father? Or what does she not want from her father? How is she planning to approach him in the aftermath of the mom's passing? And how does that change as she like returns to the hometown and is confronted with her past? Like, all of these things are the things that I need to be keeping in mind when it comes to selecting scenes and figuring out the plot. But it was really fun to start brainstorming possible scenes and things that could happen and spend a little bit more time with kind of the themes and stuff that I want to explore, because I'm really excited for the themes of this piece and like the ways that I want Mia to grow. And specifically the part that appeals to me is like the artist side of it all. Like, I'm really excited for how that side of the themes and stuff is developing, because yes, her accepting help and blah 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 and raising her brother is good, but it's not as personally resonant to me because like I don't have a kid, you know, I'm not raising anyone. Well, I'm excited to explore that for her. The part of it that really like calls to me and that I'm glad that I added, because this was not an element previously until more recently, is this whole artist thing. How Mia gave up her artistic dreams because she needed to be practical for Ricky. How Ronnie embodies someone who's pursuing their art in a way that's like healthy but prioritizing like passion and fulfillment. And then also like the added layer that I'm really excited about with the parents having been kind of like the cautionary tale for her of like two artists who really kind of leaned into that tortured stereotype and ended up kind of like going off the deep end, washing up, etc. Kind of how that scared her away from pursuing that. That is the part that I'm really excited about. So that's kind of like where I'm at. I'm definitely still trying to figure out main sources of conflict, primary events, but I am starting to get a little bit more fleshed out with Project Planes. I feel like it was good for my brain to reset a little by looking at another project. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it all the way to the end, comment down below a plane emoji. Also, to clarify, Project Planes is like a plane like flying. I know some people thought it was plane like Plain. It's like a flying plane. So comment down below a plane emoji if you made it to the end. Thank you again, Campfire, for working with me on this. I really enjoyed your software, and I'm excited to now have this Campfire dashboard so that when I do get more and more ideas for Project Planes, I can throw it all in there. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you very soon in another one. Bye.